Let me take this opportunity to thank our event sponsors. Our sponsors are listed on your program, and please take a look at those companies. If you're one of them, thank you. If you're a guest here at the event and you see them, see their name and you know them, or even if you don't, just say thank you, send them a note. Those are the folks that make quality events like this work and happen. Now, I would like to introduce Susan Luncheon, Senior Manager of External and Government Affairs for Kentucky American Water, to the podium to make comments on behalf of our presenting sponsor, Susan. And I think the last time I saw you was in Portugal. So.
Well, since we have a little bit of time, Bob, I'd be happy to go through the water treatment process for everyone, if you'd like. No, I won't do that. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be with you today and provide greetings on behalf of our president, Catherine Nash. She couldn't be here today. She's traveling, but and also as well as the entire team at Kentucky American Water. We have several right down here in front. As we've shared before, it's our pleasure to support this luncheon series along with the many other sponsors that are listed in your program. And we're so appreciative of the Commerce Lexington team's efforts in making these happen. I see the governor has arrived, and we especially want to thank him for sharing his time with us today. We'll look forward to your comments, Governor, and we always appreciate the opportunity to hear from and engage with our elected leaders, all in a spirit, as Bob said, of making the Commonwealth an even better place to live, work, and play. So we all want you all to know that Kentucky American Water continues to work hard for you every day to make sure that you have quality, reliable water service around the clock. We understand how critical our services are to the success of our community, and we appreciate your patience and your support and your safe driving practices as we work on several water main projects around town. The table of council members is well aware of these projects. And we really do appreciate that because we want to continue providing that quality service to you. And so those projects are helping us make that happen. And lastly, I know at the last couple luncheons, our president has mentioned some water tips. So I thought I would continue that tradition. So as you enjoy this wonderful, cool fall weather, be aware that after fall comes winter and cold weather, and that means that you need to be thinking now about measures you'll take to prevent frozen water lines in your homes and businesses. You all may recall the kind of December we had last year, a lot of extremely cold temperatures with frozen water lines. So make sure that you don't delay and that you take those measures to prevent that from happening this year. And you can always follow us on social media or check out our website at kentuckyamwater.com for tips. And with that, I will turn the program back to Bob. And again, thanks for joining us.
Also, I want to recognize two more individuals that have been absolutely fun to work with. They're in very significant roles. We have school board member Amy Green. Where are you, Amy? And we have Dr. Houston Barber, who I talked with for a long time before we even started this program, and then I don't even mention him, Deputy Superintendent. And I'm still waiting for the cue. Good to go. There he is, all right. Now you know why I missed a couple people in the audience here. What audience am I in? Yeah. Governor Andy Beshear grew up in central Kentucky. He graduated from Henry Clay High School before attending Vanderbilt University and the University of Virginia School of Law. He served as Kentucky's Attorney General before being elected governor in 2019. During his time as governor, he led Kentucky through the COVID-19 pandemic and two historic natural disasters, the Western Kentucky tornadoes and the Eastern Kentucky floods. And they may have happened in two different sides of the state, but it was as if it had happened right here as well, because we're one set of people. Even as our state faced some of the toughest challenges, Governor Beshear has prioritized economic development and job creation. And I would just like to add, the governor meets with my colleagues, Sarah, the Beshear Wisdom in Louisville, and my good friend up in Brent Cooper up in northern Kentucky, quarterly, as needed. And we have really good, thorough conversations, and they're very enlightening for all of us, but that's been a good relationship. That's been something unique that we really appreciate. Also, we absolutely enjoy and have great interactions with a guy named Rocky Atkins, and he's sitting right next to it, and I did not see that, so I wasn't trying to get extra brownie points, but if I can, it works. But we enjoy working with you on a number of fronts, and we heard how you were already out selling our regional initiative to another county, and it was like, wow, thank you. We appreciate that. Please help me in welcoming to the stage our current governor, Governor Andy Beshear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you. That is really good for my self-esteem. Thank you. Folks, it is great to be back in Lexington for a second straight day. Yesterday, making the announcement and celebrating that Lexington is building an $82 million professional soccer stadium. And what we thought was just going to be one announcement became two, because it's going to house not just the men's team that's already been playing, but a women's team at one of the top levels of professional soccer. That, along with the youth fields and the youth programs that we were proud through the Tourism Tax Initiative to put about $4.2 million in, it is going to be a world-class complex that continues a real win streak for Kentucky. I look around this room and I see so many leaders. Leaders that have helped guide us both through the very difficult times, but to some really exciting times. And Reggie, we think about these last 4 years. I can't think about a time where we have faced as many different historic challenges. We faced a pandemic, tornadoes, flooding, 2 windstorms, 2 ice storms, as I think was mentioned, the polar plunge, the coldest I can ever remember it, and now the hottest summer on record. We have seen so many challenges, yet each of them we've pushed through. And even having faced all of them, I am here today more excited, more optimistic, more hopeful, and more energized for our future than at any time in my lifetime. And I know that can be hard to process. How do you move from a historic time of great difficulty to one of great opportunity and we hope prosperity? In many ways, it's like we're living that 30th Psalm. It's the one that says, weeping may linger in the evening, but joy comes in the morning. I think what that says is when we are our brother and sister's keeper in times of challenges, we are rewarded with good times that follow. And I just think about where we are right now. I mean, we go back to 2021, entering that year in the height of the Delta variant, our hospitals overflowing, and hey, to all of our healthcare heroes who are here today, God bless you. Thank you for helping us get through that pandemic. But I think about how that year started. But the fact that what we will be remembered for in 2021 wasn't how it started. It's that we finished by not just breaking, but shattering every economic development record in the books, and it wasn't even close. I want to give you some scale about what we have done together these last couple years in Kentucky. We went into 2021 averaging about $5 billion of new private sector investment in Kentucky a year. In 2021, we set an incredible record, $11.2 billion. We love that because it comes with jobs. And jobs more than a number, I get that. It brings dignity to an individual. It brings security to a family. It brings opportunity to the next generation. But we keep score. And we entered that year averaging about 9,000 new Kentucky jobs a year, set a record 18,000 in 2021. We rolled into 2022 and had our second best year of economic development ever. $10.5 billion in new private sector investment, 16,500 new jobs. And while it is just October, I believe we are living through what will be remembered as the third best year of economic development in our history. In fact, I've got a heart out today because I'm going to what's probably the fourth biggest economic development meeting I've been to as governor, and that's saying something. The phone is still ringing. this region and others are targeted by so many CEOs across America and across the United States. We're doing things that people said were impossible. They said that the United States would never manufacture a refrigerator ever again, and they're doing it at GE Appliances. And we think about the fact that the EV revolution or evolution that's going on has picked Kentucky for its center. We're building the 2 biggest battery plants on planet Earth in Glendale. We're building what will be the 4th or the 5th biggest one in Bowling Green. You look at the national attention we're getting. I mean, last year we were ranked number 2 in per capita economic development in the country, and we were in what I think was the top 8 if you don't do it per capita. Just put us up against everybody else. We were number 3 in the creation of rural jobs, because it's important if we're going to see this prosperity that it reach all across the Commonwealth, because we are one people. Site Selection Magazine put out their Prosperity Cup rankings a couple months ago. We were number 5 overall, but for the first time ever, we were number 1 in our region, beating out these 2 states called Tennessee and Texas. And so while we have challenges, it's time we stop running ourselves down. For far too long, we've said, what about Tennessee? Right now, they're saying, what about Kentucky? In fact, the first time I can remember, all our surrounding states are looking at us with envy. They're saying, Kentucky, how are you doing it? And please look back at them and say, we're not telling you. But it's everyone. Listen, credit's something people argue about in Frankfurt because of politics. You know, when someone sees the world through a partisan lens is when they say everything going right is because of this group and everything wrong is going because of that group. That's not a way to govern, and it's also not a way to move our Commonwealth forward. But the folks in this room have done so much, from business leaders to service providers to our regional chambers, which do a great job, and we have formed a great relationship. To everybody who even just smiles, that person from out of town, because you never know what they're in for, and they may be looking at your community to determine if they're going to move their family there. This has been something that we ought to all take pride in. I mean, when we have the 3 best years of economic development back to back to back, we have an ability to change everything. Not just to leapfrog 10 other states' economies. It's time we are a top 10 state economy. It's the best chance I've ever seen to turn our brain drain into a brain gain, never to lose our talented young people to other states ever again, but to start getting other states' talented young people moving here. It is a chance at this moment in time to leave a collective legacy that is all of ours, of more opportunity for the next generation than we ever thought was possible. And I think that's why everyone in this room gets up in the morning, goes to work, comes to things like this, tries to make that extra difference, joins another group to try to move the region or the Commonwealth forward. We are sitting at a special moment of possibility. And along the way, think about some of the things we've done. We set the lowest annual unemployment rate in our history last year. Lowest monthly unemployment rate was 5 or 6 months ago. We're in the longest period of low unemployment our Commonwealth has ever seen. We've worked with you, our second chance employers, and you know what we've done? We've set the lowest recidivism rate in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Talk about the perfect marriage of our faith and values with business. We're filling needs that are out there, at the same time providing second chances, and it makes our community safer. And thanks to so many people in this room, to those that work in law enforcement, in treatment and recovery, you want some hope? We were one of only 8 states in the entire country that had a significant decrease in drug overdose deaths last year. That ought to provide all of us with hope. Our fiscal house is in better shape than it's ever been. We just came off a year with the largest budget surplus we've ever had at $1.55 billion. The year before that was about $940 million. The year before that, over $1 billion in my first year. Where the previous administration said we'd be $500 million in the hole, we ended up over $100 million in surplus. We have the largest day fund in our history at $3.7 billion. We've received not 1, but 2 bond rating upgrades. And the third one we think is on its way. That means 3 things. 1, the toughest critic critics say that we are booming more than others. Second, these projects we need to do, like building new schools, four-laning the entire Mountain Parkway, building the Brent Spence Companion Bridge without tolls, moving the I-69 project forward, all of those cost us less in borrowing. But the third thing they said is that the hard-earned pensions and retirements of every teacher, police officer, firefighter, social worker, every state, city, and county worker are safer than they've been in decades. And we are at a time, because of that, that we can invest. As I look forward, we've got a couple of areas, if we want to keep this thing going, and I hope we all do, that we have to invest. First, we cannot stay number 2 in per capita economic development if we are 44th in starting teacher pay and 40th in average teacher pay. Our Education First budget would provide an 11% across-the-board raise for every single public school employee. It would move us from the 40s to the mid-20s in 1 year. But it's not just more educators that we need. We desperately need more bus drivers, cafeteria workers, counselors. The list goes on and on. Everyone in that school or who gets our kids to and from our school is so critical. And as a graduate of Fayette County Public Schools, even if you left my kids' district to come here, I know how important this school district is, and without it, I wouldn't be standing where I am today. With this surplus that we have and the economy that we're seeing booming, it is time to finally fund universal pre-K for every 4-year-old in Kentucky. And there are so many ways to look at that, and they're all positive. If you look at workforce, Washington, D.C. did this last, and it moved more people into the workforce in a short period of time than any other step that they had seen. If you're looking at it from our families, child care is really expensive. It might save a family $18,000 to have universal pre-K in this state for every 4-year-old. Or look at it from competition. Our friends up in northern Kentucky are looking across the river, and Cincinnati is launching universal pre-K. And so what does that mean to a young family in northern Kentucky, whether we can keep them? What does it mean to that next business that may be looking at Cincinnati or northern Kentucky? You know, the time has come to make sure we take this step. I think the other critical thing that we have to do in this upcoming budget is to continue to make historic investments in infrastructure. In many ways, right now, we are having our Eisenhower moment. More money going into roads and bridges than ever before. You know, I mentioned them, but we're working on 3 mega projects right now that they said were impossible, and we're doing them all at the same time. Right now, for the first time in history, every section of the 4-laning of the Mountain Parkway is either completed, under construction, or under contract. We're going to get it done in the next 4 to 5 years. You look at that Northern Kentucky Bridge right now, about 4% of the nation's GDP crosses it every day. It's really important to businesses right here. By working in a bipartisan way, putting some of our own funds on the table, we secured what was at the time the biggest infrastructure grant in U.S. history. There's now one larger, so I think we ought to go back and ask for more. And that project is moving forward. And then I-69 with the Barkley Regional Airport project we've done is just going to open up Western Kentucky in such special ways, and that helps this community as well, along with so many others. Over the past 3 years, we've put $500 million in clean drinking water grants for each and every county to have a share of. What it's done is help us address our aging infrastructure, knowing that every time you invest in water and wastewater, you create jobs. The sponsor did not ask me to say that, but it's true. When you think about, number 1, clean drinking water being a basic human right, number 2, having to have the pressure to fight fires and keep our property and our people safe, but number 3, you got to have the capacity for these jobs that keep coming and coming and coming, and for that, we have to invest in that infrastructure. The plan I announced that'll be in our next upcoming budget would provide another $500 million in those grants to keep moving our Commonwealth forward. We've got to make sure that parts of our infrastructure that we know have fallen behind, we put the dollars in to keep up. That's why we announced that we would seek a $50 million bridge repair fund that would go towards the ones in most need that are out there and assist our cities and our counties that can struggle under those pressures. But maybe the one that we all ought to be the most excited about is the fact that not only have I gotten to announce the two biggest public sector investments in broadband in our state history, but with the money coming down from the federal government over this next year, I'm going to be the governor that brings high-speed internet access to every home and every business across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We've got to keep investing in our tourism. Last year, we had the biggest year for economic return in our tourism in our history. Folks, $12.9 billion flowed back into our Kentucky communities. That was 91,668 jobs are sustained through it. And my goodness, Fayette County, for the first time ever, over $1 billion in economic impact from tourism, and Fayette County blew the roof off of it, $1.5 billion last year. We celebrated it the way we should by going to Crank and Boom and dipping some ice cream for everybody who wanted to come and celebrate. And then I think about the fact that we're not very far from the Red Mile, where finally sports betting is legal in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As you know, I got to make the first sports bet in Kentucky history. We bet the overs on wins for UK. We're getting there. We bet the over on wins for U of L. They're getting there. And we bet the under on wins for Duke. They're still going to tank. I think about other investments that we are making together, from the $240 million we put in our career and technical programs, and how that works with both KCTC and their new Education First employer programs, along with our Everybody Counts program. We've talked about this so much. We need to make sure we don't lose one graduating senior. When we look at our workforce challenges, and by the way, they're opportunities. If we just look at the nursing shortage, which, yes, is a healthcare crisis, but also a chance to put 3,000 of our people into really good paying jobs in the communities that they love and they're from. When we look at our graduating seniors, we lose far too many each year. Now, I don't believe that it's my choice to pick a path for them, but I think we ought to make sure that every single one of them has a path. That's making sure that we have options and opportunity for higher education and the dollars that are needed, but it's also directly working with our employers from the high school level at all of our KCTCs and beyond, to make sure that those who want to go directly in the workforce have a job before graduating. Now, this is the new workforce training of the future. It is our education system opening our doors to our employers, asking them in, and asking to create a relationship that both helps boost the traditional education that's taught and provides skill-based training for those that are ready and want to go directly into the workforce. We have a chance, and our hospital systems and our nursing programs are probably the pioneers in this right now, to lead this country on the future of workforce simply by working together, by taking the initiative. You don't have to wait for us. By making sure that in this room we're talking about what we can do and how we can do it differently. Now, here's the good news. We're creating a good job right now for everybody we can get healthy enough, educated enough, and trained enough to fill. That means that we can both meet the needs of our economy, meet the needs of our employers, but also do special things like combat generational poverty on a level we've never seen, restore hope where hope has maybe been lost. I think about some of the projects we're doing right now. I mean, we're building the first hospital in the west end of Louisville in 150 years. It's going to bring health care to a healthcare desert and so many good jobs. We built a pediatric autism center in Prestonsburg so that those families don't have to travel a couple of hours to get the care that they need. I got to announce a new steel facility in Bell County and a new distillery in Fulton County. I was a little surprised too. On the same day, Now, Lexington, this central Kentucky region, I know it's bigger, all of you will always be a major economic engine. But Luther, I know where you're from. And I know where, how, and where you want that prosperity to reach to. I think Bob said it best. We are one people, and making sure that this comes in a way that benefits everyone is so critical, and it's the moral thing to do. But I want to thank this organization as well. We have been having great conversations, regular conversations, and in fact, part of the announcement we just made was an initiative that was brought by this group and 2 of our other regional chambers. It recognizes that we're on such a tear that, yes, we got to get everybody healthy enough and educated to fill a job, but we're going to need more people moving to Kentucky. That is a great problem to have. You know, we grew last year when 19 other states shrank, but we need to do more. And we need to be intentional about how to do it. So in the last budget, I'd put a talent attraction piece in, and the legislature didn't pass it. This year, your organization and 2 others came with the proposal that we're using. It splits a $15 million pool between the state to do an overall, come to Kentucky. This is what's going on. This is why it's so great to live here. But also provides the regional chamber direct dollars to do targeted recruitment for the industries that need it the most. I think it's a new level of cooperation and a recognition of how critical this group is and how you work together. So I think you can tell I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's close to an election. If I'm this excited, it must be something. But this win streak that we're on is something that we've never seen at this level. And it's really important that we don't fumble this football. Regardless of where people stand politically, if we have an opportunity to grab the most potential we have ever seen and to realize it for our kids and our grandkids, we've got to make sure we don't get in our own way, that we don't trip ourselves up, that we don't get on whatever argument is going on in Washington, D.C. This is our time. Right? They're not going to help us out. This is our time. And so my encouragement, and we've all, I think, done it together, is let's remember that a good job isn't Democrat or Republican. Clean drinking water helps everyone. A new bridge isn't red or blue unless we paint it that way. That high-speed internet will change everything for so many people. That things like public safety and public education ought to be nonpartisan because they benefit each and every one of our families. And while you're hearing the things that I'm so excited about in a second term as governor, what I want you to know is that I'll also continue to try to set the example that pulls those things out of the fighting that I think has us all exhausted. I've always believed that more things unite us than will ever divide us, and maybe there's a chance after November the 7th for all of us to just come back together and say, let's focus on these things that can create a brighter future for our families and a better Kentucky. I believe that's possible even after 4 years in this job. And I know that we not only can have a good legislative session coming up, but together we can keep us on the greatest economic roll of our lifetime, and we can turn good years of economic development into decades of prosperity. Thank you all very much. God bless you. I got 5 minutes.
The governor's got a hard stop at 1:20, so we got 4 minutes, and I'm gonna pull from the same questions we asked the Attorney General when he was here.
And then I'm going to filibuster.
But one of the areas, you talked about a lot of the things we had here, but one of the things is higher education. It is super important in this region.
Amen.
And just your thoughts about how you would support higher ed in the next 4 years if you're elected.
Well, I was
reelected.
proud to be a governor that proposed, increased, and at least for the last decade, record funding for higher education in each and every budget that I've been a part of. And you can expect that to continue. Last session, we got the best budget for higher ed than we've seen in a long time. But to my friends over at UK, given I got a good family friend that's chair of the board, you're going to see an even better budget for the University of Kentucky and all of our universities across the Commonwealth. I'm not going to let you down, Bob.
You talked about labor force, and one of the areas that we're really struggling in, and we're interested in what role you would help play additionally, and that's in the housing availability, affordability arena.
Yeah, wow, with everything we've been through, don't we have a new appreciation for what a house means? When you walk through Mayfield, or my dad's hometown of Dawson Springs, see a neighborhood destroyed in Bowling Green, see the town of Bremen with all of that loss, or how many people were homeless after floods ravaged eastern Kentucky, you realize that a home is more critical than you ever thought. It's important for the security of your family, but it's also part of who we are and where we make memories with those we love the most. And we had an affordable housing crisis before we got hit by natural disasters. My next budget recommendation has $15 million of general fund going into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We haven't seen general fund go in it in a long time. It typically leverages those dollars 9 to 1. It's there to ensure that our developers not just do more, but do it in many regions, and that's what we've got to make sure. I will tell you, Dawson Springs had all of its rental housing wiped out, and it is a huge challenge rebuilding within the government programs we have of how to bring that back. So you will see me front and center with housing, not just in areas that have been devastated, and I made a promise. It's one of the reasons I'm running for re-election. I made a promise we're going to rebuild every home and repair every life. We're going to get that done, but we're going to bring better and more affordable homes to our other residents in Kentucky.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.